to the UltraCycling Magazine show.
Well, hello everybody. Welcome to another great episode of the UltraCycling Magazine show. I'm Jim Lawyer, and here is Lee Kreider. How are you doing, Lee?
Hey, I'm doing pretty well. And you know something? This was kind of a special show.
Definitely epic.
Roll that little video, Jim.
All right.
If you can find it. I should have had an explosion or something there, Jim.
There you go. I just thought about that too, right when I was getting ready to go push the button, it was done. So.
It's our 600th show.
Oh, definitely. Well, not my 600, but your 600 and mine, what?
It's UltraCycling Magazine's 600th show.
Yes, definitely.
There's many more videos on our YouTube channel than that because we go back a little bit before we called it a show. And we've put a lot of shorts in there, short reports and so forth. We don't really count as shows. But I'm thinking that, Jim, we need to work together. I like to create a little editor's notebook to kind of show what it takes to put together one of the shows here.
I totally agree because we've got a lot of work, a lot of things going on.
Jim's background there, and I don't have a camera behind me, so I can't show myself. But we'll do something about that in the future.
Definitely.
So,
you want to tell us who we're sponsored by, Lee?
I will. We're here because
if you can't find us on Facebook or don't see us there, come over to YouTube.
Yeah, and I think I've got the wrong program up here, Jim. Or I don't know.
I'm using your old one because I didn't think we were going to switch to the new stuff, which is what our next little comments about.
All right.
Yeah, we're working in the background to try to make things better.
Let's just use this opportunity to say we're working very hard to coordinate our work so we don't feel like we're stumbling around so much. But I do want to have a little video here, Jim, for World Bicycle Relief.
Yes. Here we go. Awesome video, Lee.
And our goal, after you saw what they do, these bikes are wonderful. $165 puts one of these on the road. And we'd like to put 10 of them on the road by my 90th birthday in July. and our ticker kind of covered up the
Right.
donate.ucm.bike. We'll fix that. But $165, that's 650 US dollars.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever the currency is in your part of the world, that'll be fine. We'll take a little bit or a lot. If you'd like to put a whole bike on the road, that would be great, and we'd give you a big shout out over that. But
Definitely.
yeah, $5, $10, whatever you can do,
Yep.
help us work toward putting some bikes on the road.
Definitely.
So we got
Donate.ucm.bike.
200 and some dollars, so 1650. So
Yep.
we've got 4 months to do that. I think we can make it, Jim.
Definitely. And I'm going to put a separate challenge out there for everybody. If we hit 10, April and I are going to add 2 more.
Hey, there you go.
So we got to hit 10, guys. Come on.
10 and that'll put a dozen.
There you go.
That's great. And we're going to talk the next time, Jim, about how valuable these are to girls.
Oh,
I think
definitely.
that's an important part of what they do.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, Jim, tell us what's going on with the registrations and so forth.
There you go. On RAM, we had a couple of changes. So 60 total races in Race Across America right now. We got 3 2-person. We added another 4-person. So we got 3 4-person, 3 8-person, and 24 solo in RAM this year. And for Race Across the West, we got 16 total racers, which is 2 2-person teams, 1 4-person team, and 8 solo. No changes on that one. And Race Across the East, which is near and dear to my heart, we've got 17 total racers this year. We got 2 2-person teams and 12 solo. We're down 1 solo from last week, and not sure what that one was. I didn't have time to research it, but we will. One of the big things that we're talking about is Marco this year. Marco is going to do Race Across the West and Race Across the East all in the same year. So he's going to be finishing Race Across the West, rushing over to Blanchester, Ohio, and starting Race Across the East. So we're going to have him on an upcoming show also to talk about it. Upcoming races. We've got the 24-hour drafting event is North American Championship at Calvin's Challenge, May 17th and 18th. And then we've got Joe Lawhorn's Midwest TT, the 6-12 24-hour, which is Lee's birthday weekend, the July 26th and 27th. And it's a 24-hour event. Will be a RAM qualifier.
Yeah, and we picked these races out because they are here in Ohio and they're new. And we like to see these guys really pick up and get some registrations there. So we know there's a lot more going on, but we just like to highlight those. I do.
And remember, all the information that we're talking about is in the show notes. So links, right, everything you need to find these events or anything we talk about will be in the show notes.
UCM.bike, and you'll find them there.
And we'll do a little update on Joanna. Joanna Sharp finished her circumnavigation of the New Zealand, and we're going to have her on, or we'll have her on, or more information at a later date on how she did. So,
talked to her yesterday, and we just couldn't put anything together in a hurry like that. So we will get something on her, and then I want to contact our friend Gassia Werlich, who was so wonderful with her reports on Trans Am last year, is also doing this year the Indian Pacific Wheel Ride. We got to get the terminology right, Jim. I'm sure there's some legal aspects to that.
Mm-hmm.
And she is now in second place from Perth, Australia to, I don't know exactly where it is. I'll find out. But it's across from the Indian Ocean to the Pacific Ocean in Australia, and she's in second place. And we wish more power to her.
Awesome.
So how do people talk to our guest tonight?
There you go. Post your comments or questions on Facebook or YouTube. And if you don't have a question or a comment, let us know where you're watching from, and we'll give you a shout out, definitely.
And our next show, we got a little video from our next guest.
Hello, my name is Matthew Left Hand. I recently won Bike Sebring 24 hours, and I will be on the UltraCycling live stream on March 30th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time or 6 p.m. Mountain Time. During the show, you'll be able to interact with me in the comment section on YouTube, ask me questions, and get answers.
UltraCycling Magazine. On the show we
That's going to be a great show, Lee.
He didn't win it. He smashed it.
Oh, he slaughtered the course.
Yeah. Well,
And he's getting ready to do an event on April 19th, which we'll talk more about when we have him on, which will be another big 24-hour event.
yeah,
So it'll be great.
and he's going to be doing Raw as well.
Yes.
Well, we've put this wonderful lady off long enough. Let's get
Here you go.
get our good friend Meaghan Hackinen. Hi, Meaghan. How are you?
Hi, Meg.
Hi, nice to see you, Lee. Nice to see you, Jim. Thanks for having
too.
me. How
Oh,
many
you're
times
welcome.
have I been on the show? Like, I
Mhm.
don't expect you to know with 600 episodes, but I think this is like my 4th or 5th time.
Yeah, you've been around, and you have written a couple books. I have one here, Shifting Gears. But so, in order to get to be such a wonderful author, you have to ride your bike a little bit.
True.
Just a little bit. So what you been up to riding?
Well, I recently finished the Atlas Mountain Race in Morocco, and then I did a bit of touring after that. I toured a route called the Route of the Caravans, and just kind of, I don't know, saw things at a slower pace and got to experience a bit more of the Moroccan culture. And then I flew home, I caught a stomach bug, and my bike is in that box there, still yet to be unpacked.
Oh,
And I've
no.
been riding my indoor trainer.
You don't put baby in the box.
And then you don't keep her in the box. I
There
know.
you
I
go,
feel
exactly.
bad, but
Mm-hmm. So how was the Atlas race that you did?
it was incredible. I think I love bike pack racing because it puts you out in these interesting environments. You're out there alone. You have to kind of like, just be with yourself. And because Morocco is very different than Canada, as one would expect, it just felt so foreign and all absorbing or all encompassing. And like, I really felt present and aware of myself and also aware of the landscape. The race goes through some pretty big high mountain passes with snow and also these, desert sections with sand. And then a lot of it is just this weird Mars-like landscape with rocks and boulders and everything's red and there's not that much life. But so when I wasn't feeling strong or I had a negative mental headspace, I just kind of like looked around to the environment and appreciated where I was. And it was always such a big boost to be like, I can't believe I'm here riding my bike in Morocco, racing my bike in Morocco, like in February. It was really exciting.
Lee? You're muted. Still muted, Lee.
Oh, here we go.
There you go.
What was the thing that interests me? You're self-supported, right?
Of course.
What was the supply availability for you? What did you find in the way of food and places to sleep that you felt comfortable and so forth?
Yeah, like some of the route is pretty remote. Like there's not a huge population along the course. And the longest distances between resupply were probably a little over 100 kilometers, 60 miles. But then you're a little bit limited by shop hours, and shop hours are a bit harder to like pin down in some of these small towns as well, right? It's not like there's a gas station and you can look on the website and know exactly when its opening and closing hours are. A lot of it was just kind of, a little store, and maybe they'll stay open, maybe they won't. Like you just don't really know. So coming from Canada, where we have vast distances between resupply, I didn't find the remoteness to be like so much of an issue. I was a little concerned about what I actually would eat, and I ended up eating just lots of like sweet cakes and prepackaged things, and Lots of like tangerines and dates, which were pretty easy to get, but sweet fizzy drinks, just, kind of the regular trash food, except in North Africa.
Gotcha. Now, something to note here. I think you're the only second woman to ever finish this race, correct? And you came in second.
No,
No?
no,
Oh, I thought
no.
I said that in our notes, Lee. Sorry.
I was the second place finisher in the women's division, and I was 19th
Mhm.
overall in a field of about 265. And it's a pretty competitive international field. There was a lot of
Okay.
strong racers, people who'd been top 10 in TCR and Highland Trail and other ultras. The race has been going on since I think 2020. It happened like just before the pandemic hit. It was kind of like the
Okay.
last event before everything closed down. So yeah, there's been a long history of athletes finishing. Women's registration is still about 10%, so it is a lot.
Okay.
And I was really happy to finish 19th overall and get kind of that top 20 position. Like that to me was pretty exciting to be able to kind of compete at the front. And as I may have, I don't know, mentioned, I'm a very competitive person. So it's exciting to be kind of trading.
Let's see. Let me write that down. Meaghan Hackinen is a competitive. I make a note of that so I don't forget
Not a
that the
type A
next
at
time.
all.
Yeah, right.
Wait, listen. Your interaction with the local populace, how did that go? Language-wise, how they accepted you, etc.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons Nelson Trees, the race director, chose Morocco is because it's like kind of like a historically welcoming country. They have a real culture of hospitality. It's hard to not get invited in for tea or tagine. Like every Friday when I was bike touring, a family invited me in for couscous because Friday is kind of a holy day, from what I understand, and they do couscous. So bike touring was actually hard to get forward momentum because people keep inviting you in to eat, which is amazing, but also not conducive to setting FKTs or anything like that. But I felt really, I felt like it was a great experience for me to be someplace that is so different from me, from Canada, but also just feel like people were cheering me on. Like when cars passed the opposite direction, I always got a wave or a honk or a hello. No one rolled coal on me. There was no bottles thrown at me from cars. I felt it was much safer for me as a cyclist in Morocco than in Canada or America. So.
Mm-hmm. Wow. What's the craziest thing that happened to you on this race?
I saw goats in trees. Yeah, that was probably.
Wow.
Yeah, and you're kind of like, am I hallucinating? Are those really goats? What's happening? But it was during a section marked sand on our ride with GPS file, and
Mhm.
I hit it in the afternoon. It was really hot. I was able to ride some of it. I was hiking quite a bit. Was getting sunburned, and there were these goats in these trees, and it was just really strange thing to see. And you're kind of just wondering, like, is this normal? Is it me? Is it really happening? But yeah, that was probably the strangest thing I saw.
Thought maybe you were having
Bit of an
traditional
episode.
hallucinations or something. Yeah.
Yeah, no. Another guy who was racing, he actually saw a goat give birth on the course.
Wow.
And filmed it, and he was there's a little video clip of him, but he was quite emotional and exhausted, and so he's talking to the baby goat, being like, it's a beautiful world, but it's hard, it's gonna break you down, but you're gonna love it. It was ridiculous. I didn't see anything that crazy.
You spent a little time there afterwards, didn't you?
I did, yeah. So there was a finishers party, so I hung out for that, and then I took the bus back to Marrakesh, took it up to Fez. I spent a few days exploring Fez, which is one of the oldest cities in North Africa, and then I started touring north towards Tangier. So I was doing, I don't know, less than 100K a day probably. It was pretty hilly terrain. Bit of wild camping, staying with families, staying in guest houses, and just kind of enjoying myself. Lots of coffee stops, and I really, really am glad that I had that extra time afterwards.
Excellent.
Did
Hey,
you?
everybody, I see you out there watching. Post your comments and questions for
Yeah,
Meaghan.
please do.
Okay.
I'm glad that some people have found us.
Mhm.
We're not streaming live on Facebook, although you probably can see us there, but we're not streaming directly. You have to link get to click on that, and you'll get to YouTube. There's a whole story behind that. We won't take time out of chatting with to go into it. We maybe get it fixed, maybe not. But our what we're saying here is subscribe to us on YouTube. That's the best place to be.
Definitely.
So you mentioned hike a bike. Did you have much hike a bike? What was it? What kind of terrain and what percentages?
Yeah, so I would say it was a little rougher than like a gravel race course. It was definitely more in the mountain terrain, and it is part of the mountain race series. So like that kind of makes sense. It's more mountain biking. I actually put a front suspension fork on my bike, which proved really, really useful to kind of handle the rougher stuff. The first like and main big hike a bike is up Talouet Pass, which is maybe 100 kilometers out of Marrakesh. So you leave Marrakesh at like 6 p.m. You're biking out of the city and all the, the chaos and stuff. And then you kind of hit some gravel roads and you can see the Atlas Mountains. There are snow-capped peaks in the distance. And, you're like riding into it. And then there was snow about a week before the race in the mountains. So once we got to about 2,000 meters, you're riding over sections of snow. And most of the ascent was rideable. It was on pretty good gravel roads. But then once we hit the high point, I think it was 2,600 meters and start descending Talouet Pass, it's a goat trail. So unless you're a very skilled mountain biker, and the front runners were, you have to like hike it. So you're kind of like slip sliding your bike down this goat trail, post holing every once in a while, like up to your thigh in snow, pulling your bike out. There's a big moon, this is like midnight, and just trying to get down from the snow level and start riding again. So it was a pretty exhilarating way to start an event. You're full of energy and wandering around through the snow in the middle of the night. There was some other sections that were in riverbeds that you kind of have to navigate, which were a little bit tricky, and for me involved some hiking because it's just quite stony and I'm not a great technical rider. And then some steeper climbs out of like canyons and stuff that involved a little bit of pushing the bike. Yeah, I don't usually mind hike a bikes. Like it's kind of chance to do something different, hop off the bike and move, give your butt a break. But yeah.
What tires were you running?
Yeah, I was using Rene Hurst Fleecer Ridge tires, 2.2 or 55 millimeter. Rene Hurst is, they've been making tires in the Pacific Northwest for a while, and this is my first year running them, and they held up really well. They were fast on the kind of pavement and fast gravel sections, and they were rugged enough to handle the off-terrain stuff. I didn't get any punctures. I didn't have any issues, and it's really stony and rocky and rough. So there was times where I was kind of nervous about getting a puncture, but never happened. Didn't get any punctures when I was touring. So I'm pretty happy with them so far.
That's great. Now, on these kind of rides, do you bring extra tires, extra pieces and parts, or do you rely on supplies while you're out there?
I bring a pretty thorough repair kit, but I didn't have special or separate like tires because they're just kind of too bulky, especially mountain bike tires. They take up a lot of room. And there's not much, there's not many bike shops or anything once you're out there. Like I think if you had a big issue, you'd have to like hitchhike back to Marrakesh. In the small towns, there's always a repair shop and they repair bikes and scooters and things like that. And I think you could probably, I feel like they could probably take care of a lot of issues. Maybe not if you had like a electronic shifting issue or something like that. But I think if you could get to a town, the little shop could probably help you out. But again, you don't know the hours. They're probably not on Google Maps. It's really about like asking around and finding these spots. So.
Gotcha. Now you talked about a series a little bit ago. What's all that about? And this was part of that series, correct?
That's right. Yeah. So there's 3 events right now that are organized by Nelson Trees, and they're called the Mountain Race Series. And the first one is the Atlas Mountain Race in Morocco. The second one is the Hellenic Mountain Race in Greece. And the third one is the Silk Road Mountain Race in Kyrgyzstan, which is probably the most well-known. But all three of these make up the Triple Nelson, and they're kind of this, challenging series. There's 11 riders attempting all three this year, and I'm the only female, and I'm the first female to attempt all three. So I'm excited. It's a big challenge. I've knocked one down. I've got two more to go. And I've got a lot of work to do. I have to reconfigure my bike for the Hellenic Mountain Race because it's more mountain bikey. So my bike shop's putting flat bars on for me and changing the brakes and shifters and all of that to make it a bit more of a mountain bike. I'll probably pull that all off before Silk Road and have a bit more of a mixed surface bike.
That's fascinating because those are three countries you normally don't associate with the UltraCycling world, and we're always excited, Meaghan, to on this show to move into parts of the world and give them some exposure.
Yeah, and I think the race director Nelson.
So when is the race in Greece?
The 24th of May, and the one in Kyrgyzstan starts, I think, August 16th. So there's about 3 months between each event, which gives you time to get home, recover, and start your training cycle again.
So what does your training look like for one of these races? Is it very involved, or are you just going out and doing some mileage or climbing hills, or what?
I think it really depends on where I am in the season, right? Like for Atlas Mountain Race, I was training in the winter in Canada, so I wasn't doing that much outdoor riding. And when I was riding outdoors, it was road or kind of flat gravel because you can't really there's snow here. So you can't really do too much mountain biking or get up into really interesting terrain. I guess if I had a fat bike, that might be an option. But so I did a lot of indoor training. I also had a couple of injuries leading into the race, which made it difficult to train. So I did more hiking than long endurance rides. I had some pain in my shoulders that it was made worse by being on the bike. So I was trying to stay off the bike, but also train the minimal amount to not go in too unprepared. For Hellenic, I'm doing a training block here at home, and then I'm flying to Majorca. I'm leading group rides for 2 weeks there, and then I'm off to Switzerland to spend some time with my coach. And I biked in Switzerland before, but I haven't biked off pavement, so I'm excited to try it out with my new Salsa Cutthroat and get to do some adventures there. And then I'm flying to Athens for the start of the Hellenic Mountain Race. It starts in Meteora, so I'm going to bike to the start to kind of ease into it. Bike to the start from Athens Airport, I guess, and then I'll fly home. I've got some gravel races I'm doing here in BC, and I will try and kind of just ride locally and keep my routine up as much as possible as I prepare for Silk Road Mountain Race. And then I'll probably fly out a couple weeks early so that I can acclimatize to the high elevation, do a bit of tracking, and just kind of, get to experience Kyrgyzstan in a non-race environment and just appreciate the people and the culture and everything like that. So for each event, it's a little bit different.
Gotcha. Lee?
Well, I hope that if you feel inclined, Meaghan, you'll send us some video. Just shoot us to our over WhatsApp, and we'll might make some recordings. We'll play on our show here, or might even make a feature of it, depending. Just as the spirit would move you, dear.
As the spirit would move me.
As the spirit moves. The one question I had when we were talking about supplies. Did you use mostly bottled water?
I did, yeah. So I had been told that most of the water in Morocco is pretty safe to drink, but you probably don't want to chance it, right? Like on an ultra. So I drank mostly bottled water. It's pretty cheap and easy to access. And then I brought some chlorine tablets. Most of the villages have a fountain. So if I had to fill up at a fountain, then I could just put some chlorine tabs and it would be okay. When I was touring, I brought my filter and I used that quite a bit. I had a pretty good stomach. On day 3, I had diarrhea, which I'm pretty sure was caused by drinking yogurt that was improperly refrigerated. But that was short-lived, thankfully. And then I felt okay after that.
Awesome.
Yeah, on a 5-day race, 1 day of stomach issues, it's not too bad.
Right.
Did you have any mechanicals?
Nope. No, nothing.
Not a problem.
Yeah, so I'm a newly minted salsa rider. I'm sponsored by Salsa this year, and so I have a brand new
Nice.
bike. And the nice thing about having a new bike is that you're probably not going to have any mechanicals. It was great to get to really like shake down this bike on the ride, and I had electronic shifting, so this was my first time, having that, and a better gear ratio, which was nice for the climbs. But yeah, no mechanicals. Everything went really smoothly. After the race, I had to replace my brake pads, which is to be expected with so much descending. But yeah, smooth sailing on that front.
Now, were you disc or a rim brake?
Disc.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
And how you like your electronic shifting? Will you go back to mechanical now, or are you going to stick with electronic?
Well, if I have a sponsor buying my bikes, I'll keep electronic.
Okay.
But yeah,
we got to say that Meaghan is also an author. I don't know if you can make me any bigger here or not, Jim, but
Yeah,
I got
I'll push around.
her Shifting Gears book here about her Trans Am in what year was that, Meaghan? I forget.
2017. It was my first Ultra. I was a baby bike packer.
Yeah, and I also have her other book, South Away is the name of it, is it?
That's
and
right.
In our show notes, there are links that you can find, whether you're Canadian or United States, or if you're beyond that, there's a link there to Amazon. It'll be the United States version of Amazon, but I think most of the people in the world know how to figure it out for their part of the world. And great reads. I really enjoy them. She's a great writer. She has done some book reading here and there, haven't you, Meaghan?
I have, for sure. Yeah, I always like to do events. I'm doing one at the local library next month, as well as a Atlas Mountain Race recap at one of our local bike shops that supports me, actually, Chainline Cycle. So I'm stoked about both those things.
All right. Is there a book coming out of this trilogy that you're working on?
I'm working on a bike about my Tour Divide race last year, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. I feel like, in South Away, I was a newbie bike tourist, kind of finding my way. And then in Shifting Gears, I was new to the ultra racing scene and trying to kind of understand what that was like. Writing about the Tour Divide, I'm not a newbie. I have a lot of experience, some experience. And I am, trying to kind of perform at my best, but there's still a lot of challenges and I think a pretty good storyline. So it's been a joy to write about it, but it's still a long way from a book, and I need to set some time aside to really make some progress on that project. I also think my first two books are kind of road oriented, so writing about the Tour Divide is kind of cool because it's off-road and gravel, and maybe the audience is a little bit different.
Okay. Well, gee whiz, Meaghan, it's always exciting to have you here.
Likewise.
And I'm happy that some people found us. And don't go away when we end the show, because we'll want to talk with you a little bit afterwards. We want to thank all of you for watching. And
thank you.
We didn't have any comments tonight.
No, and I'm wondering if that's kind of the Facebook thing. I don't know where mainly our comments come from, so we'll delve into that and figure that out.
Yeah. So, we have a lot of trouble with Facebook. I don't understand what the problem is, but we're glad you made it here. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being with us. And
gonna go find Greg.
Gonna go find Greg. See if he's around anywhere.
This is Gregory Zuber, thanking you for watching and sharing.
Music